When you talk about California real estate investing, a lot of the real estate gurus are just saying it doesn't work. The prices are too expensive here. The government's not friendly to landlords, all kinds of issues, which do have some truth to it. But meanwhile, there's people literally making millions in California real estate, and we know that. Anyone you know that's been investing in California real estate for, I don't know, 5 years or more, then you have 10 years, 20 years. I mean, they are just exponentially growing in their net worth. And so I want to pull the stories out of those success situations and find out what's working, what's not working in the state of California, because it is absolutely a gold mine if you play your cards right, if you use very specific strategies. If you don't, well, sure, yeah, you can get cut in a tough situation. So, for example, if you're not aware of what's going on in the real estate situation and insurance in California, then it could totally wreck your deal when you find out that your insurance is going to cost 3 times as much as you thought it was going to cost. But again, you can build a team. There's ways you can do it where you're aware of the insurance costs way ahead of time and can calculate that into your deal. So there's a lot of things, yes, that are challenging about California real estate, but the opportunity is just as big, if not even bigger than the challenges. I mean, I think it's much bigger. If I look back at my 23 years of real estate investing in 8 different states, by far, the most equity gain I've got is in California real estate. I mean, it has appreciated like crazy. Now, of course, if someone's saying, well, I only want to invest in cash flow, like that was me. That's why I've gotten so many different states and investing in cash flow. It's all about cash flow. But I would have cash flow properties that would barely even keep up with inflation in terms of equity gains. And meanwhile, the coastal properties or the California properties were just shooting up over the years, way beyond what inflation goes up. Just made much more sense as an investment. So the things that you can do in other states don't necessarily all work here in California. For example, you're not just going to buy a house and rent it out and expect cash flow. Like that could happen, but it's not likely to happen. Let's put it that way. You have to find creative strategies. You have to find value add. Now, could you buy a house and then drop a junior ADU and drop another ADU on the property, and then all of a sudden those ADUs are renting for $2,500, $3,500 a month, and now the property's cash flowing, and now you've added, $500,000 worth of equity to your property? Absolutely. And so there's just creative strategies that you can think about that are different than where most of the country is in their headspace for real estate investing. And so that's why a lot of people, when they look at the typical, Burr model, buy a house and rent it out, just refinance and cash flow, like that's not necessarily going to work in a lot of locations here. And so thinking creatively, thinking outside the box. There's also creativity that comes with your financing and how are you financing the property. Interest rates have been fairly high. So is there a way around that? Absolutely. Can you creative finance? Absolutely. Could the seller finance at a lower rate? Yes, that's negotiable. Could you bring in private lender financing? Absolutely, like an investor that's going to lend in the property and you'll get a lower interest rate and they're getting to have security in a property instead of investing in the stock market, which they have no control over, or a very low interest savings account. They could get a much better return investing in a property and being secured by being recorded on the title of that property. On the California Real Estate Investor Podcast, we're exploring so many of these creative strategies, and it's getting me really excited. I mean, Ashton bought a rundown motel in Joshua Tree, fixed it up, added this really cool hip restaurant, added a little retail area of just these artisans and artists. And I mean, that thing is hopping. And who would have thought? What a creative strategy to buy a motel that's already zoned for short term. It's already in an area where the travel is rapidly increasing. There's a lot of demand, and that thing is hopping. So there are just strategies where if you think outside the box and you just don't listen to everyone that says, oh yeah, California, it's just too hard, it's too challenging, and you think it through and think creatively and actually say, is it really? Or are there people out there that are doing quite amazing things in California? That's the question I have. Because I know for me, the stuff that I've done in California, that's been the best part of my portfolio over the decades, for sure. And, you know, the more the news is kind of bad and gloomy and uncertainty, there's some uncertainty in the market and in the economy right now, the better the opportunities you'll usually find. And so it's an interesting time for sure. And so stay tuned. I'd love to connect with you. Subscribe if you want to get more updates on what's going on in California real estate, what's working, what's not. We're just going to keep diving into this. Talk to you soon.